Very cool. And my editing tool, I can edit out anything that we feel like is dumb, we don't want to say, or we want to go back and
Oh,
change. So
cool. Okay. Brilliant.
uh, cool. So I thought what we do is I first is just kind of introduce you and talk a little bit about your story, how you got into fitness, and
Yeah.
I want people to learn about your coaching business, and how to reach out to you and stuff like that. So obviously, I want this
Great.
to be good for both of us.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
so let me do a quick intro, and then we'll
Okay.
so all right, folks, welcome to our next episode of All Things Generic. Super excited about this one. We have got Lance King with us today. He is a fitness coach, and if you've ever seen him on Instagram, you know that he's the real deal because holy crap, I've seen some of his workouts and they're insane. So Lance, thank you so much for joining today. Super excited to have you on the podcast and to talk about fitness.
Yeah, I'm thrilled, Eric. Thanks for being willing to explore this with me.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for being willing to explore with me too. So we got introduced through a mutual friend. I work with our friend Josh, and he thought it'd be a good idea
Hmm.
for us to connect. And
Yeah.
as you know, I've been on my health journey and trying to get this weight off and become healthy.
Hmm.
And we
Right.
thought we could have a cool conversation around, um, what I'm currently doing. You maybe offer some tips and insights, maybe some tweaks to my workout program or whatever it is that you see that we should change. But before we do that, I really thought it'd be cool to, let's learn about you. Who is Lance King? How in the world did you get into fitness? How did you get into fitness coaching? Let's start there. How did you get into this?
Yeah, I appreciate that. So I think there's so much that was subconscious Lance trying to come out. I grew up early on having to go through not just a divorce, but at 3 years old, I got hit by a car and had to go through a lot of plastic surgeries, which ended up taking 5, 6 years to be completely recovered from.
Wow.
And during that time of having a divorce with parents, a mother that actually had to go into hiding because of the circumstances,
Oh
and
man.
then dealing with the recovery, it was a real shock to my system, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
And I had a lot of outbursts and a lot of discouragement in my life and anxieties. And as I started growing into my body, I found myself meeting with doctors, meeting with psychiatrists to try to figure out like what's wrong with Lance. And in this discovery phase for them, I was turned to exercise, and ultimately that ended up being a real turning point for my life. In elementary school, I was turned to exercise because my mother, she remarried, and unfortunately the man was very abusive,
Mm.
and specifically toward me. I mean, I was kicked down the stairs, punched in the face, uh,
Gosh.
verbally and physically abused throughout like every week. And I later learned he had a mental illness and was an alcoholic and on prescription drugs and many other things that I learned down the road. But what happened was this need for balance, this subconscious need for balance started surfacing more and more. And that, with a combination of just needing to protect myself and to protect my younger brother, who sometimes was abused physically as well, it brought me to a point where I wanted to stand up for myself and stand up to my stepfather. Now, coincidentally, as I was just a young elementary school kid lifting weights, I did have some standoffs with my my stepfather that didn't go well for me. But as I continued to grow and mature into my junior high years, I started getting to where I didn't feel like I needed to protect myself as much. I didn't feel the anxieties. I didn't feel the imbalance because I had such a routine with exercise,
Mm.
and it naturally led to nutrition. And becoming a fitness coach was something that I wouldn't have labeled myself as a fitness coach in high school, but even at that point in life, I became a fitness coach because I was able to get to 220 pounds. I was a bodybuilder naturally at that point. I ended up receiving an all natural professional bodybuilding card, taking the overall in a natural bodybuilding show. This was all natural, no testosterone, no growth hormone, no nothing, just food and exercise. And certainly genetics played a big part of this. But the more I learned about nutrition and exercise, the more I found that I actually knew how to duplicate things. I started seeing people, again, even in high school, ask if they could be my projects. And then after my 20s, I was probably 22, 23 when I had my first paying client. I'm now almost 41. And for over 20 years, I started off very small. I mean, like, hey, pay me $100. And then as I started evolving and started learning about just life and how chaotic things are for so many people, so many things that become deal breakers to momentum, I designed a program that evolves with people's lives, whether that's being that they have a lot going on at work or vacations or whatever it is. I have a 4-phased fitness coaching program now that's designed for a person to find out what their genetic potential is. And if you go to my Instagram, I do put pictures. I just posted a picture of what I looked like yesterday, just with my physique in the summertime, 40 years old. And I feel like I'm in the best shape of my entire life. And I felt that way every single year of my life. Uh, and that's something that I want to bring to other people because truly the one thing that I give people is the one thing that they get when they get out of the shower and they look at themselves in the mirror. And that, of course, is confidence. And it happens with small incremental gains, incremental improvements that happen over that 4-phase fitness coaching journey.
Wow, very cool. Yeah, we'll throw up on the screen. Is it okay if I throw up that picture of your
Yeah,
Instagram?
for sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll throw that up in post, and um, folks, you'll see it right here. This dude is jacked. He's living the life, which is super encouraging. Um, so one question I had, I know you're out in Utah.
Mhm.
Do you offer remote coaching, or do you have to be in person?
Yeah. Yeah. Most of my coaching is actually remote.
Oh, great.
And that truly was the benefit of of COVID for me is I had to learn how to do more and more across country. And Zoom's been a great way to do coaching calls. I do a weekly coaching call. We do all the nutrition and send updates into a fitness performance tracker. So after a person signs up with my coaching program, they have a fitness performance tracker that we use week to week to put progress pictures. There's a key where every time I update the meal plan, it updates on that key. And then exercises are live. And so they adjust with the person's goals, working backward from their new lifestyle. And so virtual is my jam. It works very well to work with anybody across the nation.
So I know this already a little bit from talking to you, but I'm curious if you could help folks. It can be intimidating starting with a personal trainer, with a fitness coach,
Mm-hmm.
or even just starting exercising. It's intimidating. And especially, you have someone like yourself who is well versed, you're an expert in it. How do you help people kind of get over that hump? How do you help them get comfortable in pursuing this, which is going to be a super vulnerable and
Yes,
open and raw experience?
absolutely. Yep.
How do you help them get comfortable with that?
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, Eric. The Number one way that I help people become comfortable with working with me is just understanding what their current lifestyle is, and to help people to realize that where I start is in that lifestyle,
Mhm.
and where I'm taking people is a new lifestyle, but it's based on just a realignment, a reorganization of things that people are already doing. And so when we start working together, we're taking their current nutrition and their current exercise patterns and just simply having an evolution. And that's one of the reasons
Mhm.
that I work with clients on a week to week basis, is because some weeks they're going to be real springboards where people really start to turn the corner on their meal plan and on their exercise plan. And we're going to look at shifting gears when it makes sense. See, in those calls, we go through a SWOT analysis to evaluate strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats for both nutrition and exercise. And I am only going to take a person to that next gear if they're fulfilling on their end. And there literally are check boxes that I have that help move clients through their journey, but it is a personal journey. And we take things the, the best we can given their, again, current circumstances when we start working together.
Yeah, man, that's fantastic. I worked with I guess a fitness coach at one point, and he had a very strict program. In fact, he cooked the meals for me, brought them to my place. I had to eat them, but on the weekends, I was supposed to cook. And I told him, I said, look, I can't do this perfection. Perfection isn't going to work for
Yeah,
me. I have to
that's
be able
right.
to stray a little bit. So, and we
Mm-hmm.
ended up at parting ways, even though I lost like 30 pounds in a month working with him.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
was so strict. So what I love about what you're saying, and folks, I hope you really hear this, is that you're really trying to learn their lifestyle. You're trying to understand what's going on with them, what their current challenges are,
yes,
and making small, sustainable changes along the way that are going to
yes,
help create this new lifestyle. Not this whole hog approach where it's like, all right, you've got to eat chicken breast and rice, for the rest of
right.
your days. Like
That's right.
that's not sustainable.
That's right.
So
That's
so
right.
that's exciting.
Yeah, and I want people to learn. There may be a phase where clients will have meal delivery, and I have discount codes, and even have DoorDash delivered in some cases. In some cases, that might make sense for someone for a few weeks, but the most ideal situation is going to be that situation that we're working backward from, where you're again by yourself, but now you have all of these patterns where you've learned how to cook different meals. We've found together things that work and that can be duplicated. And I like to tell clients, I like to share with clients things that when they go on a vacation, hey, we have a recipe for how to prepare for a vacation and how to prepare for the week after a vacation or a business trip. And so everything is working backward from like, what does this human being's life going to look like after I'm not in the picture?
Mm. Yeah, man, that is so good. I appreciate that, guys, and I fully endorse it. Like that's the only success I found are those small changes, working backwards, not trying to get perfection,
Right.
progress over perfection.
That's
Um,
right. I love that.
so we'll dive into how folks can reach you in a minute. I want to now kind of shift gears. We've talked about your program. I love it. I'm excited about it. Um, I want to now talk about. I've sent you my workout routine, and I
Mm-hmm.
sent you my meal plan for the week. Um,
Yes.
but before we do that, you had me fill out a questionnaire,
Yeah, I did.
which is kind of your intake for your customers. So I'm
It
curious,
is.
what did you learn from that? Was there anything that you gained, or any questions that came to your mind, like, oh man, I wonder about this?
Yeah. Yeah, there's no question. So, a couple of things that I think are unique to my application process is that when people fill out a fitness coaching survey, I start just understanding, hey, at like a high level, what's your overall goal? And for you, you indicated you wanted to lose fat. And that's great. But most people, it's like lose fat, build muscle. I mean, they're pretty generic. So I like to ask folks, like, what does that really mean? Like, what is the actual measure of success that's going to come from
Mm,
that? And so you measure success. You indicated to me that you want elevated energy with work and
yep.
family life. You want reduced disease rates. You want
Yeah.
elevated confidence with relationships. You want to reduce pain in your body. You want to be able to feel confident to get into an athletic event. And so for me, I like to unpack like the why with all of those things. And I would love for you to share a little bit more about your why. When you talk about elevated energy throughout each day, like why was that a measure of success for you?
Yeah, man, because getting through a day was a slog. Um, just thinking about when I was at my heaviest, which is around 450 pounds, and
Mm-hmm.
maybe more, uh,
Mm-hmm.
I would try to minimize my steps or combine activities. Like, okay, I've got to go to the bathroom, but I also need to go and grab something to eat, and I would combine things so I didn't have to do a whole lot of effort because I couldn't. Just walking to my car, I was winded, I was exhausted.
Yeah.
I basically I lived a lifestyle where I was sleeping until I was hungry and I was eating until I was tired. And that's just not a
Interesting.
way to live, man. I used to be super
Yeah.
active, played sports all the time, played ultimate frisbee in college. Like I was never a official athlete, but I was pretty athletic. So for me, just getting that day to day energy, being able to do just normal things in life, super super important.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And my suspicion is always, has there been in your mind, like if this is my current energy output, like what does that look like for the future? If this is, I mean, remind me how old you are now.
44.
Okay, so 44. Yep, I'm seeing that. So 44 years old, there's a lot of life to live. And
Yep.
I find talking to folks that they're really worried, really nervous. If like this is how you feel right now, what does the future look like? And it can be
Yeah.
so discouraging that people just stay in that spiral, and it becomes we I have people that are very close to me that like the results are not good. The results are like gastro bypass. Like people are scraping to find solutions,
Yep.
and sometimes they'll get to a point where, I mean, full disclosure, people will pay me up to $50,000 a year to get them their health back, and
Mm,
so there are real severe and dire and immediate consequences that
sure.
can all of a sudden creep up where people get to a point where like they are again scraping to get life back. And so
Yep.
this is where my expertise shines. And you asked me about like what do I feel like really differentiates.
Yep.
I would take your nutrition plan where you talked about what like your meals 8 a.m., 12 p.m., 5 p.m., and 9 p.m. The eggs for breakfast with some fruit, and then lunch meat and vegetables, meal three some sort of meat and vegetables or just meat, and then it sounds like that's kind of what you're cutting. It sounds like that's like the extent of your food. Like we would look at your food and then organize it around a meal sequence of greens first, protein second, and then the things that break down into sugar last. So GPS is my real secret sauce.
Mm,
And this came from over a decade of research after my mother passed away. She was 47 years old. I couldn't understand how could she pass away. I was effectively coaching her like I was coaching anybody else. How could that happen? And I've learned that one of the things that is literally killing people is their bodies are so acidic they create this perfect environment for cancer. And
mm,
so I decided after my mom died that I would change my mindset and get away from just, hey, like let's just eat meat and have carbs and like let's just focus on building muscle. So much of what I've learned is what you do internally will manifest externally. And there's a
mm,
compound effect there. But that compound effect will be expedited if you can enable the body to become more balanced. And that balance can only happen if you're in control of cortisol, oxytocin, and insulin being at the very pinnacle. And if you can learn how to balance those three hormones, you'll provide alkalinity in the body instead of that acidic environment where cancer will thrive. And so I've learned and would share with you that if you eat in the order of greens first, protein second, and then the things that break down into sugar, when you talked about sometimes you have this desire to have ice cream or treats right after you've eaten, guess what? Like I do too. But what meal sequencing is going to do is it's actually going to reduce the number one thing that's causing so much weight gain across America, and that's elevated insulin, more insulin than we really need.
Yep.
And so meal sequencing will actually flatten the glucose curve that happens over a 90-minute period after you've eaten. And as you move into what's called the postprandial state, you will actually have a flatter glucose curve, meaning that the pancreas isn't going to need to release as much insulin. And so you'll have more of what you need. My clients batch insulin throughout the day so that it's used when it needs to be used. And then as they eat throughout the day, that meal sequence is also enabling them to digest and absorb a lot of their food much more effectively. So eating to GPS and having ice cream or a cookie or something like that after your meal, it's just not going to have the same kind of impact because of the order that you eat. And and so I would encourage you to look at that, and then to also consider that in between your meals, if you'll give your gut a break, then you'll find that over time, you're not going to feel a need to reach out for snacks, because anytime we reach out for snacks, the real reason that we reach out for things is because we haven't had enough vitamins and minerals. And so if you eat to GPS, you'll absorb things better to the extent that, Eric, you just won't have the inkling to reach out for things. I like to think that most people's programs are based on willpower. Mine's based on hormone power. And so why not have those work for you to ensure that you feel satiated and you move toward a state which is called being metabolically flexible, where you start to become a person that has a body condition internally that is more apt to push out fat into the bloodstream. If it's too acidic, I've learned the body actually will not push as much fat into the bloodstream because it's in a state of fight or flight constantly.
Yeah, that's interesting. I feel like I learned years ago that when your insulin level is spiked, you can't burn fat. Like your insulin level has got to come back down before you're able to burn fat. Is that accurate, or is that kind of wonky?
Super smart, Eric. And one of the things that's so important to remember is that if a person has a lot of excess body fat, here's a paradigm shift. The body puts fat on as a protection response against free radicals. So a lot of confusion about free radicals, but effectively glucose molecules bumping into each other that can literally bump into organs and cause a lot of literal damage that can kill us, cause leaky gut syndrome, and a lot of other compounding catastrophes internally. The reason we put on so much weight when we influence insulin helps to make sure glucose goes somewhere. So it either goes into muscle or it goes into fat. Glucose going into fat is a way to protect us against ourselves.
Mm,
is kind of how to look at it
yeah.
against those free radicals. But again, the more balanced we are with insulin, we won't have to have as much insulin released throughout the day, which will enable your body over time to start pushing more and more fat into the bloodstream.
Yeah, that I've learned a lot because I'm type 2 diabetic, or as I call type fat. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I've been really trying to focus on that. I have a continuous glucose monitor that I wear sometimes. I'm not wearing it currently, but really fascinated to see the response my body has to different types of foods. To your point, the order that I eat it in. Like I've been doing a lot of those experiments, so that's super interesting. I got a little bit of shift, and I want to be cognizant of time too. I know we're coming up
Yes,
there.
thanks.
Um, so working out. So one of the things I've heard is that it's really hard to build muscle and lose fat. Do you feel like that's true, or is that a misnomer?
Yeah, I think it depends on the person and how they're organizing their workouts around their nutrition. And so if a person is working out, like they're going to be burning carbohydrates until they don't have anything in your glucose in your glycogen stores or in your cells that your cells store carbohydrates, and then when it's depleted, it then pushes fat out into the bloodstream. And so naturally, if you're breaking down muscle tissue, it's a supply and demand thing. The nutrition is going to help repair the muscle.
Right.
And if you're working out in a way that can deplete your carb stores, your glycogen stores every time you work out, where you're then pushing fat into the bloodstream at a certain part of the workout, every workout you're going to build muscle, and every workout you're going to burn fat. And I have been able to prove that people are able to burn fat literally. People could test every morning and see that every morning when they wake up, they'll be a little bit lower in body fat if they adhere to some really simple practices that I talked
Mm,
about. And I think it's important too to just give our bodies some grace. I know a lot of people are very concerned, like, hey Lance, it's great, like you've got this physique at 40, but my body's just screwed up. I've got this wrong with it and this wrong with it and this wrong with it. It's just not possible. I think we need to give our bodies a little bit of grace and just remember that if we really can realign a lot of things that maybe have become messed up for many, many years. And I think fad diets are one of the things that screw up people, not just psychologically, but actually can mess things up metabolically.
yeah.
And if we can just realign things from a hormonal basis with food in particular, um, that alignment's going to produce remarkable results. And that's where XFIT comes in. XFIT is about the X is based on the individual becoming reaching their genetic potential, their fitness genetic potential. And that journey is different for everybody, but I am continuously amazed at what that looks like when people get realignment hormonally.
Yeah, and I think what's cool about the story you just told, yeah, your body may not be able to do it's not going to do it overnight, right? Like I'm not going to look like you overnight. It's not possible. But with your program, you talk about small incremental changes that we can
Yes.
do
Yeah.
that is going to get you there. So to that person who says, yeah, Lance, my body isn't there, we know.
Yes.
We know it's not there. And
Yeah.
that's okay.
Right.
It doesn't
Right.
have to be there. We're going to make small changes that we can build upon. And maybe one day you will get to the point where you can do 500 pounds of deadlift or whatever it is the thing that you
Yeah.
want to do.
Yeah.
I did
Exactly.
225 this morning. I was pretty excited.
Oh, that's phenomenal. Yeah. And I really I liked your workout program because you can definitely see that you've got an interest to tone up the arms, but you're doing your upper body and lower body a couple times a week. I think what you're doing is absolutely brilliant. I think it's so important to make sure you're doing things that require a huge output to to do a leg stay and to not have the body demand even more calories at rest. It's just not possible. And that mix that you have on your week A and your week B, I think it's absolutely fabulous. I think it's important to mix things up the way that you mix things up as well.
I wish I could take credit for it. I stole it from a friend. He has big arms, and I was like, man, I want to get big arms and big traps. That's my
Yeah.
goal in life. Big arms and big
Yeah.
traps. Uh, well, man, I know we could probably talk for another hour, but I know you've got things to do. But I want to make sure, how do folks reach out to you, man? If they're interested, they like what they've heard. They're like, man, this guy could really help me. How do we get them in touch with you?
I think one of the first things, it would be a good thing for people to check out my Instagram, and then to send me a message if they're interested in a survey, and that's where we start. And my survey link is on my Instagram. My Instagram is just at kingme83, and I think people looking at my Instagram, they can see not only am I a practitioner, but I like to show what other clients are doing. And I think that's a good place for people to say, oh, I relate with this guy or this guy or this person. And I do work with men and women. Most women are so most men are more likely to reach out to me, but I do work with women. Um, it's just different, right? Like most guys in their 40s, they're like, hey, I'm tired of the proverbial dad bod. I want to go from having a dad bod to being a father figure type of a thing. So that is the majority of people that you'll see on the Instagram. But that's where I would start, and then we would, after going through a survey, just explore whether or not I think this could be a good fit.
Yeah. Now I think I have you on Instagram. I have you as at king underscore fit underscore me.
That's right. I was thinking of my. Okay, I've got a few things. That is it. That
Okay.
is that is my
Okay, cool.
Instagram.
So we'll put Lance's Instagram up here at king underscore fit underscore me.
Yep, that's
You'll
right.
you'll see he's got a lot of great pictures. He's got some killer abs. I'm very jealous. I got a party keg going on. Uh, but if you're interested, reach out. There is a what is this link to?
Oh,
So there's a link.
that
Yep,
link
there's a
is
link
my
in this
survey.
description is to the survey.
Yep.
So if you're interested to do that, I highly encourage you. I did it myself. There's a lot of great questions. I could tell that he was really trying to learn about me and what I needed and what my some of my challenges were. So I find that to be really good. So yeah. Anything else, Lane? Anything else you want to shout out? Anybody you want to? Anything you want to tell the folks? I've appreciated our
Yeah.
conversation. I thought this was
Yeah.
fantastic.
Likewise, Eric. No, I just think that the more people realize that there can be a plan for them that meets them where they're at, I think that everybody's genetic potential, it depends on the season of life, but there are some remarkable genetics that we have been blessed with, and why not explore what that looks like in this season of life wherever a person's at. And there can be discouragement for men being in a season of business where they've just been putting their heads down and getting after it, and now they've lost themselves in it, and they're overweight, or women who've had babies, and now they're like, man, I really need to get, I need to show up for myself. The more you show up for yourself,
Mm,
it really helps you to show up for other people. And so why
yep.
not at least just explore what meeting your genetic potential in this season of life would look like? I'd be open to the discussion.
Yeah. Well, folks, I encourage you, please reach out if you need help, if you're struggling, if you're trying to get to a better spot in your health journey. Lance would be a great guy to work with. He's already encouraged me. He's already helped me in a lot of ways. So highly encourage you to do so. Again, Instagram at king underscore fit underscore me. We'll throw it up on the screen. Reach out, send him a DM if you're interested in learning more. So, Lance, thank you so much for joining the show today, and I hope we get to talk again soon.
Yeah, thanks, Eric.
And cut.
Cool. Yeah, this was fun, and I mean, if there's an interest in you further exploring things, of course, I'm opening that up for you as well. I've got a lot of information that you've shared, and I would just encourage you to keep the trend. I mean, sometimes people have the plan. Maybe they need a little bit of guidance and reorganization, but with someone that has the type of plan that you have that is working well for you, I mean, just the accountability week over week, if that in of itself is something you're interested in, I'd love to further explore that with you.
Yeah, I need to do something, man. I've been stuck at 350 for the last month. And I know a lot of it's my eating. What I sent you was the ideal. That's
Yeah, yeah,
ideally
of
what I
course,
do. Obviously,
of
I
course.
snack and I go off course and all that, but um, like I really want to. I was thinking this morning, it's like, man, I kind of want to set a lofty goal to get under 300 by the end of the year.
Oh man, that's so doable.
It's doable. It's also, I mean, it's 50 pounds in 6 months, 5 months, 4 months,
Yeah,
four
yeah.
and a half months. So,
Yeah,
uh,
well, and the fact that you've got this accountability angle where you're wanting others to show, like you're trying to showcase your journey. There could be some fun things that we could do uh, that way together too, because like I'd record often. I'll record some of the coaching calls, and if you wanted me to share those with you, and you could kind of slice and dice those.
oh, that could be
Like
cool.
there's just a lot that we could do that I think would be worthy of the investment, and most people uh, they do look at this as almost like business consulting for their business, and so they'll even write it off because what we talk about is energy as it relates to your work and to your life, and so much of what you've done. I just think you've got such a great wave that you're riding, and there's no reason for you not to be under 300 if you've got the momentum that from my understanding, like no reason not to be 280 to 290 by the end of the year.
Yeah, man, if I could not seeing the three on that scale anymore, like just
Yeah,
even, I remember the first time I didn't see a four on the scale or leading with a four. I was like, oh my God, I'm getting there. And then getting to the
yeah,
doctors this past or a couple weeks ago, and I saw 350. I'm like, I mean, it's life changing.
yeah, it is.
So so yeah, man. We'll I know you need to go, but let's continue the conversation. I think we can do something. Um, and I hope that I
And
can
just
help
put
help.
something else on. Yeah, just put something else on my calendar. Um, I mean, just to show you, like I have, I'll just take 2 seconds just to show you one client that I'm working with that you'd probably be able to relate with. Um, we've had hiccups where, like, for a month, he wasn't really losing. He was just kind of like he. So this is week one. He actually started at about 367, and let's see, where are we? About week
Mm,
12.
down to
So
329.
is it
Yeah.
329 now? Let's see, waist 58 and a half, 63 to 58 and a half. So about 6 inches off. I mean, we're still tracking along. He's had a lot of hiccups, but man, he really is trending. And we were actually 323. I actually think yeah, we're at week 17. That's right. So 319. Let's 319,
Mm.
starting at about 367. And this is kind of what we do each time as we go through a SWOT analysis. And then the opportunities end up becoming like we actually will talk about assignments and things for the next week. And then we talk about, hey, next week, this is where you need to be on track. So anyway, just think about it, and then we could put some time on the calendar again to unpack your saved survey just a little bit more.
Cool. Yeah, man, we'll do it.
So I'll share the recording ASAP, and then I'll look forward to chatting with you again soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Lance.
Okay.
This is
All
great.
right. Thanks, Aaron. See you, buddy.